Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast. This is the Unstruggle Podcast, and I am your host, Ryan Glenn. I'm so glad you guys are here. I'm very excited to dive into this next topic. As you know, we just finished our series for What Are You Good At? I was sad to see it go, but the show must go on. I got plenty of other topics to cover that I feel are going to bring the most value to you, the listener. So today I'm going to dive into the 5 habits that you need to incorporate into your life in order to, if you're going to start a business. Some of these things are habits. Some of these things are just little tidbits, little things that I've learned over the years that I made the mistake of doing or not doing. And then once I started incorporating this into my life, I found out that it was a whole lot better. Made it a whole lot easier, and now I'm going to share them with you. So let's dive on in, guys. I'm going to start off with number 1. You need to read. Read a lot, okay? One of the hardest things that I found when I first started out is I wanted to start a business, yet I was still doing the things that don't help me start a business. I was watching Netflix. I was, just running around doing nothing, basically. But the main thing is you got to turn off that TV. You got to stop watching the TV. You got to stop, lollygagging, stop scrolling through Facebook, Instagram, and things like that. Put your phone away, put the TV away, and just sit down with a good old-fashioned book. That's where it goes. My goal for 2020 was to read 52 books. That's a book a week. I was doing good for the start, but I recently started Brendon Burchard's High Performance Habits. Well, it's not recently anymore. I started it back in February, and the book was so good that I got halfway through it, and I asked myself, am I dedicated enough to this book? And I decided, no, I'm not. So I started it all over. But before that, I got 4 books under my belt. This will be my 5th book once I finish it. But reading is a must if you're going to start a business, especially if it's a book that's going to teach you something new, that's going to teach you a new skill. Excuse me. I read Copywriting Secrets by Jim Edwards because I learned that in business, the reason why I wasn't very good at sales is because I didn't know the words to use. I didn't know how to write somebody a letter to, bring them into my company to have them, purchase my services. And that book taught me a lot. And, I started to put tabs on every page that I thought was useful information, but then it just turned into a rainbow because it seemed like every page had a tab on it. But reading is number 1. And I know a lot, if you don't like to read, I'm sorry. There is Audible. I don't count audiobooks as a book read, but you can listen to audiobooks versus Audible. I love Audible. I use it all the time. Matter of fact, I used it yesterday. I'm going to use it later today. So audiobooks, big thing. A lot of times you can find the audiobooks for free on YouTube. If you just type in the book title and the author, a lot of times you can find the audiobook on YouTube. So number 2 goes along with reading. Study successful people. Okay, 3 years ago I had no idea who any of these people that I follow are. I had no idea. When you study successful people, look it up on YouTube. One of the big things that I started with was Evan Carmichael's channel. Evan Carmichael on YouTube, I started watching him, and he had his top 10. And on the top 10, each one was from a different person. So that took me off into 10 different directions. So then I learned, this person's great. He teaches this, he teaches this. This is what I want to learn. So I started following them. That's where I found Gary Vaynerchuk, found Grant Cardone, Rob Dial, Tom Bilyeu, a lot of people, Dan Pena. But study successful people. Go to YouTube and just type in success in the search engine. YouTube is the number 2 search engine in the world. If you type success, you're going to get the top of the top, okay? So start studying those people. And then once you find those people on YouTube that you like and you connect with, follow them on social media. They all have Twitter, they all have Facebook, they all have Instagram, LinkedIn, all of that. and they all produce content to provide you the value that you seek. Okay, so follow them on social media, look them up on YouTube, and then find interviews from that person. A lot of times you'll find that they've been interviewed on another podcast or another YouTube show, and they're talking about topics that you may need to hear. So number one, you're going to read a lot. So you got to shut the TV off, put the phone away, pick up that book. That book is that thing that you have up on your shelf that's holding up the other stuff. Number two, you're going to study successful people. All right, number three, this is for the people that have taken that initiative and taken that step and started producing content for their business. Okay, so you've got everything going, you know what you want to do, and you're starting to put content out there. Number three, you're going to ignore negative feedback. Ignore negative feedback. And I know this is hard, I know this is difficult, because no matter what you do, there's going to be that one person or multiple people that are going to leave you shitty comments, that are going to make you feel bad about yourself, or going to make you second guess yourself, or whatever. Don't let it happen. Actually, Rob Dial said this in one of his podcasts, and I really liked it. It stuck with me. He said, if I take the time and I put my energy into replying to that one negative comment, I have to take that same energy and focus on the 1,000 comments that were left that were positive. So you can't take your energy and focus on the negative if you're not going to focus on the positive. And then, he also said that he had 1,000 comments that were positive, and that one negative comment is what stuck with him. That's what wrecked his brain and drove him crazy for the next couple days. You can't do that. There's going to be negative. Just get it on the table. Put it on there. Today, somebody's going to say something that's going to piss me off. It's going to make me doubt myself. And it's going to make me second guess my business. Just lay it on the table. You know what's going to happen. That way you're prepared. Ignore negative feedback. So number four, and I still struggle with this, but I catch myself. So I'm growing. I know I'm getting better. I've caught myself numerous times doing this. When you first start out, and this is a tidbit that came from Gary Vaynerchuk, don't pay attention to your numbers. Don't. I'm telling you, it will drive you crazy. It'll drive you absolutely mad. Don't pay attention to your numbers. Don't pay attention to how many followers you have. Don't pay attention to how many likes your post get. Don't pay attention to how many comments it gets or shares. Or if you start a podcast, don't pay attention to how many listeners or subscribers or whatever you have. If you start a YouTube channel, don't pay attention to how many subscribers you have. You're just starting out. Nobody knows who you are. Okay, nobody knows who I am. But I'm still here. I'm still producing this content, because when people do discover who I am, and when people find that they like my content, I don't want them to come to an empty room. I tell people all the time, there has never been a great musician or a great rock band or anybody in history who has not once played an empty room. They all start somewhere. So even recording this podcast right now, there's a slim chance that a lot of people are going to see it or listen to it today. That's okay, because whenever they do find me, it's all going to be right there waiting for them. That way, it's not just a one and done. If they feel that they've gotten some value, they can say, hey, I wonder what this episode's like. I wonder what this episode's like, and so on and so on. So then, from there, not only am I growing in followers and growing in listeners, but I'm also growing in content and growing in value that I can provide absolutely for free. And that's where my heart is, helping people, producing content that's going to create that value. That's where it's at for me. So we're going to recap before I get to the fifth one here. We got number one, read. You're going to read a lot, guys. Read books. I would say at least try to read one book every 2 weeks and start with there. That'll get you 26 books a year. Okay, that's pretty good. That's a good start. Number two, study successful people. Look them up on YouTube. Follow them on social media. Look for interviews. Number three, ignore the negative feedback. This is going to be the hardest one, but it's also going to be the most productive one. Ignore your negative feedback. And number 4, disregard your numbers. Disregard your numbers until further notice. I don't even want to tell you, don't pay attention to your numbers until you've been in business for 6 months or something like that. No, until further notice, you're going to disregard how many followers you have, how many comments you have, how many likes you have, how many subscribers you have, listeners you have, blah, 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 so on and so forth. You're not going to pay attention to this. You're just going to provide the value, play that empty room, so whenever your fans get here, they have value provided by you to keep them there. Number 5, last but not least. Okay, so when you are wanting to start a business, I know I kind of went out of timeline here, but when you are wanting to start a business, you know what you want to do. You've decided, this is what I'm passionate about. This is how I want to make my living. This is where I can provide the most value. Number 5, you're going to research your local market. Okay. For me, I'm a life coach. I'm looking locally at the need for a life coach, which the area I'm in is up in the 70% poverty level. So there's a lot of people that are struggling financially. I know, and with struggling financially comes struggling mentally, and with struggling mentally comes psychologically and emotionally, and yada yada yada. So I know that people in this local area need me. The demand. Now, there's a difference between need and demand. The need is you have that market that people need your services. The demand is the market where people are specifically asking for your services. Okay? So need, they need it. Demand, they're asking for it. And then, of course, your competition. So those are the 3 things you need to focus on when you're researching your local market. You've decided what business you want. You've decided where you can provide the most value. Now you're going to research your market. The need for your services, the demand for your services, and the competition for your services. Now, I spoke about this on a Facebook Live yesterday. When it comes to competition, there is a difference between healthy competition and being an asshole. So I just wanted to share that with you. Healthy competition. Yes, there are people that do the same business that you do. There are people that are in the same field as you that are trying to provide the same amount of value. That doesn't mean that you can't do it. That doesn't mean that you should give up and find something else to do. That's not how it goes. Healthy competition. You know what they're doing. They know what you're doing. You need to do what they're doing better than what they're doing. And you need to do what you're doing better than what they're doing. Okay? So, that is healthy competition. Now, being an asshole is when you're going to go on social media and you're going to bash the person that provides the services that you want to provide in order to get people to stop using their services. That's not how it works. That's being an asshole. That's not competition, okay? So we're gonna bridge that gap right now. There's a difference between healthy competition and being an asshole. You want to be right there in the middle. You don't want to be the asshole, but you don't want to be bare minimum, because these people, you're both after the same market. So you have to find a way to lure those people towards you. Now, and I mentioned this yesterday on my Facebook Live too, there's no reason why in a healthy competition you can't help each other out. For example, let's say that your schedule is absolutely swamped this week. You did what you needed to do, and you're fully booked. You don't have any wiggle room or nothing in your schedule. So let's say, excuse me, let's say somebody calls you and they're inquiring about your services that you provide. They want something done now. They have the money to do so now. You can say, this week I'm fully booked. I don't have anything open, and I know that you want to get this done quickly. So what I can do, I can give you the number to somebody that I know that provides the same services that may have an opening in their schedule. Would you mind if I give you their information? Healthy competition helps each other out, because you got to remember, what goes around is going to come back around. So you do that for them, they're going to do that for you eventually. And if they don't, you know not to do it again. So I'm going to wrap it up. The top 5 things that I feel you need to incorporate into your life if you are to start a business. Number 1, you're going to read. Number 2, study successful people. Number 3, ignore negative feedback. Number 4, don't pay attention to numbers. Completely disregard your numbers until further notice. Number 5, research your local market. Let's see, if I was going to flip those back around to where they were in order, it would probably be research your local. So 5, 1, 2, 3, and 4. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4 in order. But that wraps up the show for today. I hope you guys have gotten what you were looking for out of it. It's my goal to provide the most value I can. Do me a favor, if you got something out of this, share this on your social media. I would greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't so far, please follow the show and click the notification button so you never miss an upload. I greatly appreciate you guys for listening. Let's learn how to unstruggle together. I will see you guys on Thursday. Thank you very much. Have a great day.